Welcome to Ceasefire, where civics meets civility and engagement meets empowerment. Ceasefire is hosted by former Bernie ISD trustee and owner of the Bernie Bookshop, Dale Adams, and by former Bernie City Council member and local insurance agent, Ron Cisneros. Ready, aim, ceasefire.
Good morning, Kendall County. This is Ceasefire. My name is Dale Adams.
And I'm Ron Cisneros.
And today we've got an interesting topic. It's the attributes of an effective elected leader. And I've got one word for that.
What's that?
Ron.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
Now, it used to be that people didn't seek elected office. Their friends put them up to it and made them become an elected official.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about sticking you someplace. Yeah.
That's a good way for us to not be friends anymore.
You act like you've actually seen that before or something.
Been there, done that, on to new projects.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the important attributes of an elected official?
Well, before I jump into that, a little disclaimer here. So at the point that our audience will hear this, we will be in early voting. And so everything I'm about to say is not intended to reflect on one candidate or another. These are the things that I think you and I, we think should be an elected officials, right? The things that should be readily evident. And unfortunately, and this is across the political spectrum, we see a lot of the wrong things. Image, and I think we'll touch on that probably a little later, but image is a big thing. People look on the outside, or they say, yeah, we want an honest elected official, and yet we don't seem to always get that. And we know that a lot of them, the ones that we voted for, are outright lying to us, but we're okay with that because, you know, they're team red or team blue, right? And so we'll jump into that later, but I think there are some, and most people would agree with some of the things that I'm going to say, and yet again, we're not picking these kind of people most of the time, but I think the very first thing is integrity, right?
Yes.
Somebody who has principles, somebody who is ethical, somebody who always seeks to do the right thing, and their word is a bond.
Yeah.
You know, when they tell you they're going to do something, they are going to pursue it to the end of the earth, right? Yeah. And again, we say we want that.
We assume that, too, with our leaders.
We do.
And the ones we like, anyway.
Right.
We assume, they're always telling the truth.
Right.
You know, and we defend them.
And that's funny you say that, because I actually put that down in my notes, is that we will defend our guy or our girl to the very, very end, right? Yeah. And even when we know they're lying to our face, right? Because they're in that right team.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we say we want integrity. And you know, as I sit there and tell you, this is like the first thing that comes off the top of my head, I know that that's not what we're always voting for.
No, what we're voting for, what I think we're voting for, is charisma.
Yes.
And charisma is an interesting thing because it attracts people and they like it. But charisma is kind of fickle. Somebody who's charismatic to one person isn't to another, you know? So like Donald Trump is charismatic to some people. Joe Biden is charismatic to some people, but not the same people necessarily.
Right.
And it's a shallow thing, but we vote based on that almost always, I think. But we claim to be voting on the integrity issue.
Yeah. Well, you know, interesting thing about Biden is it's hard for me to imagine anybody actually believed that he had any kind of charisma at all. I think in that election, he's not Donald Trump. Right. Yeah. And we get into that sometimes. And I'll pick on Republicans for a moment. When Mitt Romney was running against Obama certainly had tons of charisma, right? And Mitt Romney did not. And for Republicans, the choice was Mitt Romney. It was like obvious to him it was Mitt Romney, not because he had charisma, but because he was not Obama.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I don't think that the things that we're going to talk about today are, I'm not saying that Mitt Romney didn't have integrity, but these attributes that we should be looking for, he may not have possessed, but he was the antidote to something we didn't like. So
part of the problem with integrity is you can't actually see it.
Right.
You sort of have to look at what they've said and what they've done and what you've heard about and say, okay, do they have it? I think so, or I don't think so. You can see charisma. I mean, it's there on the TV screen or on the stage or whatever, but you can't actually see integrity or good intentions.
Right.
You know, that's the hard part.
That's true. Here's another one that I think is really important. And now integrity, like I said, is probably at the top of my list. I don't know where this one falls, but it's critical, maybe not in terms of the philosophical ideal of what you want in a leader, but important. It's almost like a physical attribute that you want, and that's the ability to communicate. Mm-hmm. And more than just speaking well, but to articulate a vision and an idea and express it in such a way that you motivate people to take action, right? If you're thinking about running for office, go see Dale at Toastmasters.
Yeah. Local politicians who pop in and give some speeches, and we give them feedback and stuff like that.
It's very important if you're thinking about even just being involved in a civic organization and not being an elected official. I think being able to communicate ideas.
Yes.
And this is more than just having a proper cadence or, speaking English well. I think it's being able to read an audience, listen to an audience, to understand your audience. I remember the first time I saw Senator Donna Campbell, before she was a senator, when she was a candidate, and she came in to speak, I think at the Tea Party, and she knew who she was talking to, right? I mean, she was throwing out the red meat, and I thought, wow, this lady knows who she's talking to, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. But it's not just important to be able to throw out the red meat. You have to be able to articulate your thoughts and your beliefs. I know frequently I would talk to people, and afterwards I'd be like, I don't think I really got across the point I was trying to make. Mm-hmm. And so part of the speaking is the mechanics and all that, but you need to be able to articulate what's going on in your head, because once again, we're trying to see that integrity, that value system that you have, and if you can't show the world what's inside your head, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Here's another attribute, and this one would probably be my number 2 attribute right after integrity, and that would be humility.
Yeah.
Yes. We just do not see enough of that. I mean, especially today. Yeah. I'm not going to mention any names, but you just don't see it, and it's a lot of I, and I did this for you and I did that for you, instead of we or my team or our party,
right,
or the American people.
But that comes from the political system we have, because people are drawn to their work that they like. People are drawn to politics because they like wielding power. They like standing up in front of people and saying grandiose things. They like the public spectacle. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to find people that are humble and really don't want to be in the limelight. They're not going to even pursue it. So there's a large swath of your population that are incredibly competent, very capable, would make great leaders, but they're like, I'm not interested in that. I don't want the spectacle. That's not what I'm after. I want to quietly work away in the background here, run my business or something like this. And this is sort of why I think they used to, grab their friends and say, you need to go do this, rather than have the politicians themselves come up and say, I need to do this.
I still think that there's room for humility in high-ranking elected officials, acknowledging, for me this is important, acknowledging that you are a tool used by your creator, right? And recognizing that there is a higher power and that you're fallible. All of that comes with humility, that self-awareness that, hey, I'm imperfect, I'm going to make mistakes. The people around me are imperfect and they're going to make mistakes, and I need to treat them with kindness and mercy and grace because I am in need of those things. I think that kind of humility is essential to effective leadership.
And I think that's one reason why you find a lot of people express their faith when they're on the campaign trail, because they're trying to get people to think that they have humility. And some of them do, maybe. Yeah. But I think a lot of times it's used as an indicator of their humility, even if they don't have it. Some do, I think, but not necessarily. I think a big part of what you're saying is that we have a purpose.
Yes.
And whether we like it or not, it can be thrust upon us, and we realize that we need to go do it even if we don't like it. And those are the kind of leaders that we want, that are doing it because they have, in whatever manner, by friends or their business connections or whatever, they've been sort of told, you need to lead in a new realm. And so they do, rather than just because they like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another one, and I've already kind of touched on this a little bit with the integrity and communication and humility, and that's self-awareness. Just understanding your limitations, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what other people are good at, and knowing yourself and the people that you lead.
But that's tough for a leader, because one of the things you need to be as a leader is confident in accomplishments and what you're going to achieve. Mm-hmm. So in the Air Force, a lot of people get irritated by the pilots because they all think they're God. But when you're up there and you're flying at Mach 2 and you're about to go into battle, or you're going to do something that no human should be able to do, you need to have so much confidence that nothing can touch you. And otherwise, your doubts and your second thoughts will affect your reaction times, all this kind of stuff. So there are roles that require you to have an outsized ego. Unfortunately, I think politics is one of them, because when you go into politics, you are attacked from every which way but loose, and you need to say, I'm still going to win. I'm still going to accomplish this. Doesn't matter what. And it's unfortunate. I don't like it. But I think that super ego requirement is embedded in our current political system because it's such a public popularity contest now. It didn't used to be that way, but it is now.
If we go back to the last presidential election, do you think that Harris maybe had too much of that confidence? I mean, looking back at the results now, and it's real easy to Monday morning quarterback, but do you think that maybe she had too much of that? She lacked that self-awareness to know that she didn't have enough gravitas to run a campaign.
I think it might look like that, but I don't think so. I didn't get the impression that she was overly confident in her capabilities and that she could do anything in the world. I think Trump has that, but I don't think she did. I think she tried to project it. I think every high-level political candidate tries to project that. Mm-hmm. Only a few of them, I think, actually have that, and I don't think she had that. Honestly, I think she was on a ride, and she was hoping for success, but I don't know. I can't read her mind.
She might have been banking on that popularity.
Yeah.
Or what I was talking about earlier, that, anybody but Trump.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think a lot of people have assumed that would be good enough for them, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did a show last year on image, right? And we talked a lot about how that image can affect your daily life and affect your work. And what's a bad image is running late. And so we'll take a break, and we'll come back and finish that conversation.
Okay. Well, this is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron, and we're going to take a quick break and come right back with images. Bernie has its own bookshop. In fact, it's called the Bernie Bookshop. Hi, I'm Dale Adams, inviting you to get lost. Get lost in a good book in our relaxed and casual atmosphere. We have a wide and eclectic selection in the Bernie Bookshop. We pride ourselves on finding what you're looking for. We do author meet and greets, host writing workshops, and can connect you with a good book club. And your young ones will absolutely love our kids section at the Bernie Bookshop. And while we want you to get lost, we're easy to find, as we're in the heart of Bernie at the back of the Richter Tavern building. We are the Bernie Bookshop.
Hey folks, this is Ron Cisneros with Ceasefire, and I want to remind you that Election Day is March 3rd here in Kendall County. Exercise your right to vote.
Welcome back. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron has some images for the radio.
Yeah, so we're talking before the break about image and a show that we had done last year about the importance of image, and now I'm going to say something that sounds contrary because I think we put too much emphasis on image. Let's go back to President Kennedy when he was candidate Kennedy, and his debate with Richard Nixon, and he opted to wear makeup. Nixon didn't, and he looked youthful and vibrant. Nixon's over there sweating like a pig, and he loses the election. Yeah. And so that's kind of contrary to my message earlier, right? But then it's not contrary to our show from a year ago. Yeah. So there's a point where image is important.
But you know what about that one? I've heard, because I wasn't around then, that Kennedy won the TV contest and Nixon won the radio contest, which I think speaks to that whole image aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate that we do that sometimes. We put so much emphasis on the image. When you look at, and I don't want to take anything away from Kennedy, but there are so many things image related to that presidency, the whole Camelot image, the fact that men stopped wearing hats because he didn't wear one to his inauguration. And yet he had important things to say. He had some great quotes. He was an effective president. But that presidency really changed the way Americans looked at their presidents or what they sought in their presidents, right?
Yeah. I think since then, there's been a celebrityness about political life that has come along, and I've heard it referred to as the ugly person's Hollywood. People that don't think they have the good looks go into politics. I don't think that's really true, actually, but it's an interesting comparison because it is sort of a celebrity world now.
Wait, is that why we ran?
Not why I ran.
Are we ugly? Was somebody not telling me something?
Yeah, nobody hired me to act in anything. But I think we were looking at the promo that you just went to, Barron, with Wesley Hunt, and you pulled out a picture and showed it. Yeah. And so we show pictures of politicians now, and I don't know, I feel it's become a celebrity world in and of itself. Yeah.
And it bothers me, but at the same time, I know that I look at somebody and it's like, my gosh, you couldn't even put on the right shoes for this event, or that tie is 20 years old, or you need a different haircut. That haircut's ridiculous. It's dated, or it's your hair's too long, or so.
But is that really what you want them to focus on?
No.
That's the toss-up.
Like our show, and if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go back to Bernie Radio and look at our podcast, and you find the show on Image, and it is a reflection of the things that are of our values, or how we feel. When I see a guy in a cowboy hat greet a woman and he takes his hat off, that says something to me, right? That's image. Mm-hmm. And that tells me that he's old school and he's polite and he's got courtesy and manners. So image, image has some importance.
Yes, I agree.
So I think it's the right kind of image. What are we saying? And not the polished. I can't remember who it was. There was a political commentator on the right that brought attention to the fact that anytime a Democrat, like Rolling Stone, would take a photo of a Democrat, it was always from the ground up. Like you'd get this crotch shot, right? And to make them look sort of manly.
Imposing.
He did it with Bill Clinton and Al Gore, and I was like, I'd never noticed that before. Blurred image, and I'd never paid attention to that before. And so image is important to a degree. I'm not going to put it there with integrity or with humility, but it's important. What are you saying to your voters if John Fetterman with his hoodie?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that image worked with the blue-collar voters in Pennsylvania, but it really didn't translate well once he got to the Senate floor. Now.
Yeah, he's a unique character. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. And maybe that hoodie is working for him now. I mean, I hear people call hoodies Fettermans,
really?
Yeah. So, so maybe it works,
Yeah.
So maybe disregard everything I'm saying. What do I know?
Yeah. Well, image is really cultural based and individual or group culture based, because, some people think a certain image will mean one thing and that's important to them. And other people see the same image or a presentation of yourself and they'll assume something different, like somebody like the cowboy hat coming off that you were talking about. Some people see that and think, oh, here's somebody who just goes out there and just wanders around and shoots cows or something. But people can take different images from different things. And I think a lot of that is going on now when we've become so polarized that our images mean different things to those two groups. The same image can.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
So here's, I think, something really important about image. Is it has to be authentic.
That goes back to the integrity thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard the phrase before, all hat, no cattle.
Yeah.
And you see these candidates all of a sudden like, well, I'm going to run for Texas state senator. And all of a sudden this guy who's never worn a cowboy hat before is wearing a cowboy hat. Right? And I'm like, well, where'd that come from, right? It's inauthentic. It's John Kerry going to get the hunting license, or Hillary Clinton at the black church saying, you know, I ain't no ways tired, right? And it's like, oh, it's so cringeworthy. It's like, oh, that's just... It's fake.
Right.
And so I'm saying image is important, but authentic image is what I'm talking about, you know, and an image that's based in principles. And so what I mean by that is the tipping of the hat, right? The standing up to shake a man's hand, right? Those sorts of things, those are manners based, they're cultural, they're
behavioral than visual.
Right.
Because they indicate closer what's inside.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't want to overemphasize image. There's an importance to it.
Yeah.
But keep it grounded in authenticity.
Yeah. It's always important.
Yes, sir. What's another one? Come on, man. I got all the good ones.
Well, so you've got a whole list of attributes. I sort of approach this more from a leadership style kind of perspective.
All right.
I think I'm not sure how much time we have left on this, but I looked up different leadership styles. You know, like you've got autocratic, you got your democratic and bureaucratic, which is actually what we sort of live under now. But I once gave a talk on leadership, and it's interesting that in different situations you want different leaders. Like there are some great leaders. I'm just going to throw this out there. Adolf Hitler was incredibly charismatic and a major leader. He was able to get some people to follow him to unbelievable places. That doesn't mean that's the kind of leader we want. Even if he had the skills of a great leader, that's not the kind of leadership we want. General Patton, he's going to lead me through the Battle of the Bulge. That's who I want. But do I want him organizing the catering for my wedding? Probably not.
Right.
You know. So I think the leaders we seek and the attributes that they have, I think the attributes you've described are very universal. But I'm looking at some more specific, like style things about leaders. And I think those depend on the position. Say the school board, you have this sort of collaborative leadership, and they all work together, and they have a superintendent that sort of executes what their vision is and all that. In the county, you have sort of operational leadership and this sort of collaborative vision leadership.
Right.
And sometimes I think that conflicts, and it causes some problems. And the city has more of the sort of collaborative visionary leadership, but they get a little bit more into things. So I think every position has more of one or the other. Like the sheriff's office, it's very much a operational leadership. And so you want different types of people. So I think when we talk about these elected officials, we need to think about, is it an operational position? Is it just a visionary kind of position? And so I think a lot of times we just look at the charismatic. I think, honestly, all our elections come down to is the charisma of people. And that it ties in authenticity, image, and stuff like that. And yet what we really need to look at are their skill sets, are their styles, does it fit that position? And unfortunately, I don't think we do that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm thinking about the city now and my past experience on there. And you're right. The person that you want running the library is not the same person that you want operating the police department. You're looking for different skill sets, different passions. And I think that's a great point. Actually, I like that.
I know one thing you've complained about is when people ask locally elected leaders topics of national interest. And it's great red meat, you know, what do you think about immigration or abortion or whatever, all these different things. But they actually have nothing to do with that. And so what we end up doing is we're learning about their attributes that aren't going to be applied to that position.
Right.
And it detracts from maybe they have a phenomenal skill set to be able to run that police department or library and do it. But maybe their opinion on some national topic is different from ours, and then we don't vote for them. And so we lose that person for that position that they would be great at, and we would really like that their skill set there because we disagree with them on something that would have no bearing in that position.
That's a great point.
So,
very good point.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring out a couple of books. Well, since we're talking about leadership, I had to say this. I didn't show you this earlier, but we do have Trump Art of the Deal at the bookstore, which is a book on dealing and leadership to some extent. But the book that I like is called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. And his point about leadership is that leaders are the last ones in line. They're the last ones to bed. They're the first ones up. They support their team, and their team supports them. But they are the ones that set the example. And it's a great little book. He actually got a lot of it from the Marines when he went and interviewed them and said, well, why does everybody so devoted to the team and willing to sacrifice themselves? And the commander said, officers eat last. And it all sums it up in that the people that you are leading get everything first.
Yeah, it's a very biblical concept.
Yeah. And we didn't even go into that.
No.
There's a lot in there, too.
Oh, we could bring that book out every show.
Yes, I know we could.
Well, another good show, I think.
Another good show, I think.
I mean, you're an effective radio host, Dale.
And you are an effective researcher and come up with a lot of great content.
Oh, thank you. See, I'm better in that position than I would be in an elected position, right?
Likewise.
Yeah.
Can I eat first?
Absolutely.
You get to eat first. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. This is Ceasefire with Dale and Ron. Thank you for listening to us. And if you missed any of it, you can always go to birdieradio.com and listen to our podcasts or catch up on the old ones or anything like that. And we will see you next week.